Hello from Athens. On behalf of the University of Georgia's Department of Advertising and Public Relations at Grady College, thank you for tuning into this inspiring episode of Driven by Purpose. Our series was created to bring us together for warm and heartening conversations with leaders who make the world better and whose work illuminates the power of purpose for brands, companies, causes, students, and all of us. Today, we're so fortunate and grateful to welcome Meredith Seacrest, Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of the Ryan Seacrest Foundation, joined by Mamie Shepard, Director of Seacrest Studios at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital in Nashville, and Meredith Dean, Director of Seacrest Studios at Levine Children's Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. All three are Grady College alumni, exceptional role models, and exceptional friends. And all three have been honored by UGA's 40 Under 40 Award for remarkable achievement in service. You will see why and how the Ryan Seacrest Foundation spreads hope for children and families in pediatric hospitals across the country and creates opportunities for students. Our program sponsor is the UGA Center for Health and Risk Communication at Grady College, and posing questions from students is UGA honors student and public relations major, Laura Burr. So let's turn to our distinguished faculty host, Professor of Public Relations, Dr. Karen Russell, who holds the Jim Kennedy Professorship of New Media and UGA's highest teaching honor, the Josiah A. Meigs Distinguished Teaching Professorship. Karen, thank you and welcome everyone.
Thank you so much, Parker. We have a packed schedule today because in addition to speaking with Meredith and Mamie, we're also taking the questions from Laura, and so we need to get right to it. So I first just want to introduce Meredith Seacrest, a 2003 alumna of the College of Journalism and Mass Communication, and I'm proud to say my former student. After she graduated from UGA, Meredith worked at CBS, managing communications for Entertainment Tonight and The Insider, then managed several luxury resort accounts at Murphy O'Brien in Los Angeles, and finally served as Director of Creative Affairs for Reveille, which included working with MasterChef and Nashville Star. I know there are some stories from those days, but we're here to talk about purpose. And in 2009, I think it's fair to say you found yours as the Executive Director and COO of the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. So welcome, Meredith.
Thank you so much. And it's so great to be reconnected after so many years. And I remember taking your class and loving it. And just so happy to be part of this Driven with Purpose session today.
So I think before we do anything else, we should get a little background on what the Ryan Seacrest Foundation is and what it does. And then we can talk about your role in getting it started. So I understand you have a video to share.
Yes, I thought it'd be great to start this off with a video that shares what the Ryan Seacrest Foundation is all about. And I think a visual helps paint the picture.
Caleb waited for approximately 7 months inpatient while being listed for his heart transplant.
I'm a brain tumor survivor and still have ongoing health issues, and so I come to the hospital a lot.
Chase came to us at 7 weeks old. His adoption was finalized shortly before he was 2 years old. I was handing him off to a doctor and asking the doctor to save him because you know that your child is fading fast and you see light leaving his eyes.
Good morning, everybody. It is Ryan Seacrest. It's so great to be here at the Seacrest studio. We've got kids watching all over the hospital. We, along with all the amazing partners here at the hospital, built this studio as a place to just come hang and tap into creativity and your ambition, not think about anything else, not have any worries or any other thoughts, just come have fun.
Seacrest Studios is just really cool and fun. It's the safe space that everyone feels welcome in and that they belong there.
I get to watch Seacrest Studios from my room.
It's always amazing when there's a celebrity visit.
Everybody make some noise up in here.
Caleb was able to meet his idol, Pecorine. The time that the athlete spends here was minute compared to the time that it spends in Caleb's heart forever.
In our studios, we're helping to encourage and equip 2 future generations of broadcast professionals, the patients as well as college students across the country.
I found out about the internship at Seacrest Studios through a friend. There are so many hands-on experiences that you get to be a part of while you're an intern at Seacrest Studios. All of the equipment here is state-of-the-art, and I've gotten to produce my own shows. I had the great opportunity of interviewing some big-time stars, and I was able to form relationships with professionals, with families, with friends. They change lives, and they have changed my life. Seacrest Studios has meant so much to me. It's something that I will always be grateful for.
My favorite place in the hospital is Seacrest Studios.
It's amazing as a mom to watch your daughter just shine and come to life in a place where, okay, sorry.
It motivates him to keep getting up and going. He gets to be himself. It brings out the joy, the happiness in him.
To Chase, this is his studio. He loves it here. This is an extension of our home. This is an extension of our family.
I honestly don't know what I would do without this studio.
You can have fun when you're in here. You get to forget that you're in the hospital.
The only word that keeps coming to mind for me is magical.
The kids can learn and discover, and it's just awesome.
I don't think it could get any better.
It's touching my life. It is touching my child's life. It makes a world of difference.
These families are the reason why my family wanted to get involved and try and help make a difference in every studio across the country from coast to coast. It surpassed anything we ever dreamed of. We can't wait to see what the future holds. Thank you.
I'm speechless.
I
know. I see wiping your eyes. That's the truth. So Meredith, I saw in the video, obviously your brother, but also your parents were in there a couple of times. So can you tell us your family story and how the foundation got started?
Sure. It really started with, Ryan would visit children's hospitals as part of his job, in a sense with American Idol or his radio show, and they'd love to go see children to help lift their spirits if they could. And especially with his radio show, he would travel to the Orange County Hospital and visit children there, and they bring the radio show in because he has a radio show in Los Angeles, Kiss FM. So they'd have a live broadcast and bring in special guests, and he got so much feedback about what it meant to the hospital, what it brought energy to the hospital, and just kind of really something super special. And he just thought, what could I do, or what could I bring to a children's hospital? I can't broadcast live every day, but could I bring something that could live in the hospital and bring this energy? And so it evolved into creating the concept of kind of replicating his radio studio and building that in the children's hospital. Additionally, we added green screens to do the TV component too. And it blossomed into Seacrest Studios. So we built the first one in our hometown of Atlanta. And at that time, I was still working with Reveille, the production company. And I helped, build it, launch it, all that while I still had my other job. And then we ended up getting connected with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And next thing you know, we were launching a studio there, and Selena Gomez actually helped us launch that one. And then she was from Dallas and wanted us to help build one in Dallas. The next thing you know, we're launching a third in Dallas. And really, I think it was after we launched the second studio, Ryan said, hey, this is really turning into something. Would you consider leaving your job and come run this foundation? And I thought, working with family, it can always be tricky. So if I was ever going to work with my brother, working in the foundation space is the best place to be, and that we can give back and use our relationships to help others. And I thought, this is something, and this is a place where I'd love to be and to help support his vision and mission too, and create this from the ground up. So that's pretty much how it got started.
Okay, so you mentioned that you got up to 3. I know there's a lot more than that now. So can you talk about how it's grown and what the impact has been?
Yeah, so after we got the 3rd studio built, then all of a sudden, we started having other hospitals reach out and thought, we've got to really get an application and make this a real process of how you get chosen and where do we go next. And next thing you know, Boston Children's Hospital was excited to have one. And especially when you get associated with some hospitals that are top in the country, then everyone says, well, if they have one, we need one too. And it just snowballed. And next thing you know, we've now built 11 studios in 10 years. And and we're always continuing to look to grow. We're really about the quality, not the quantity. We want to make sure that when we choose a hospital that it meets certain criteria and we feel they'll be good partners, and something that really means a lot to us because it's something special we've created, and want to make sure that they can really blossom it and grow this studio in their hospital.
So one of the things I've really admired about the foundation is that you've also made it possible for other companies to honor their purpose by working with corporate partners. So can you explain how that has worked?
Yes, I think in many ways, as organizations or companies have gotten to know about us, we've been kind of a place to click in, and then they can reach 11 children's hospitals. So whether it's a toy company or microphones, or they want to donate earphones or coloring books or whatever it may be, there's things like that, especially from the in-kind side. But we've also partnered with a lot of businesses, and in particular Coca-Cola was one of our founding partners. And I think our strategy really aligned with Ryan. Had a lot of great business deals on his talent side and business side, and how could we marry that into the foundation and grow support. So we were able to piggyback on some of those corporate partnerships, and then as well as kind of target other companies that give to a cause, and a cause similar to what we do in children's causes. So we would target certain companies and look to see, again, that they care for our cause. And that's how we chose some of our other corporate partners.
I love that. So I think this has been a great overview of the foundation and your work, but I know there is so much more. So I'm just going to hand it over to you so you, Meredith, and Mamie can continue to talk about the work before you get the questions from the students.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I would love to now introduce Mamie Shepard in our Nashville studio, as well as Meredith Dean, who's in our Charlotte studio. Both of them run these beautiful studios every day, and they're both magical, talented people, and I'm so grateful to have them on the team. But first, let's go over to Mamie in Nashville. I'd love for you to share a little bit with the group about how the studio works, the technology inside, and how we use it to lift the spirits of kids that are going through a tough time.
Yeah, well, welcome in. Welcome to Seacrest Studios in Music City. This is a very happy place in our hospital, and it really is. And I know it's this way for a lot of the studios. It's the heartbeat of the hospital. It's kind of where all the action happens. And that hasn't even changed during a global pandemic. We are still a place where a lot of happy things happen in this hospital, and that is so needed, especially during this time. So the studio is fully, it is amazing. It is a multimedia studio. It's radio, TV, anything you could imagine can happen in this studio. In fact, a lot of broadcasting professionals, when we have people from radio stations or TV stations come in, they always talk about how amazed they are at the equipment because it's exactly like the kind of equipment that Ryan has in his studio. So we're so lucky to have it here in our hospital, and it's a place where kids can learn. They can push all the buttons and get to test out the different equipment, maybe find a new passion or something that they're interested in. And that is a really special environment. We're kind of like a digital playroom in the hospital, and it's not geared towards one age. It spans all ages in the hospital. So I'd love to show you a little more into our studio here in Nashville. each studio kind of has its own vibe, but they're all very similar. So I'll let you take a little look at my crib at this video where I take you on a tour of Seacrest Studios in Nashville.
I'm Mamie, and I'm the program manager for Seacrest Studios here at Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. Come on in and check out my crib. When you first walk in, you'll see our wall of fame. All the famous people who have come to see us have signed a picture for this wall. Patients love this. It's not a party unless you have a disco ball. Speaking of party, I want you to meet the life of ours. You gotta meet the guy behind the camera. This is Casey Long, Media Support Specialist for Seacrest Studios. All right, now come over here. Check this out. Look at this piece of artwork famous Nashville painter Rob Hendon made for us. He's famous for painting the guitars. He's done them for lots of celebrities, and we're so lucky to have some here in Seacrest Studios. We've brought the neon lights of downtown Nashville into the studio. This is one of my favorite picture spots. So strike a pose, smile. I love that we have this. This is part of the ribbon that was cut on opening day for Seacrest Studios. Ryan Seacrest and his family and Taylor Swift cut this ribbon, and we have part of it here in the studio. Because we're in Nashville, we have to have a little extra bling. This guitar has been signed by a lot of famous people like Rascal Flatts, Lana Del Rey, Billy Ray Cyrus. Pretty cool. I want to show you something really special, but before I do, check out the boss man. And this is where the magic happens. A lot of magical moments for children in the hospital have happened at these very microphones at this desk. You've seen my crib, you've met my friends. Now I've got a lip sync battle to get to, so you gotta go. See you next time.
Lip syncing is one of our favorite things to do. Meredith, the Merediths, what are your lip sync songs? What are your go-tos?
Ooh, you know that we have to go for Frozen, Let It Go.
Song. I know, it's such a good one. Now that I have a daughter, I know all these songs specifically from her. She loves Let It Go. I mean, it's just such a good one.
It is a good one. So we have a lot of lip sync battles in Seacrest Studios, and that's nationwide. Everybody loves to sing, and it kind of does something to your soul and your spirit. So if you're having a bad day, sing it out. Frozen really does do the trick. But yeah, I mean, I think that the studio it's so technically set up for all good things, and it just shows, it reveals how forward-thinking the Ryan Seacrest Foundation was as we moved into this global pandemic. You know, it wasn't much of a switch. It was a very seamless transition for us as we made our way into an entirely virtual reality. You know, everything, we went from having a lot of kids in the studio, and now it's all virtual, but it was already set up to do that. So it's amazing that technology was already there. So we have things in the studio like a soundboard and a TriCaster, things you would see in a TV station. If you have been at Grady, if you've been into the news source area or the TV station area, you've seen that, or even the radio station at UGA. A lot of the equipment looks very similar. So we're able to broadcast to patients' rooms. So when we are in the studio, when we are live, it broadcasts on patients' TVs all across the hospital. So here in Nashville, we broadcast to 11 floors. So kids can see what's going on in the studio. And then when they turn the volume up on their TV, they can hear what's coming through over the microphones. So whether that's an interview or we're playing a game, or it's a great lip sync, music performance, anything like that, patients are able to watch, and they're also able to call in. We have a hotline number, kids are able to call in. I've gotten some prank calls before, Meredith, you probably have too, I don't know. I used to have a patient call in and pretend that there was a pizza delivery every single day. So there's something really exciting about using the phone in your room. But it's something so special, especially during this time when patients really aren't able to leave their rooms. We're able to still bring entertaining, educational, enlightening content right to their rooms. They don't even have to leave their bed for it.
Yeah, and I think, it is amazing. We never dreamed, we'd ever be in these times, and that the studio had the capabilities to just click in and still to survive during these times and provide programming. And even our foundation, we have a full-time talent booker that helps to bring in special guests and perform, as you might have seen in the video earlier. And Taylor Swift helped us open the studio there kindly. But now we've been bringing them in via Zoom and still able to help bring special experiences bedside, as well as Mamie, I know too, you've been working with some local artists and creating a kind of a concert tour to bring to the participants, if you want to highlight that.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think this pandemic has really brought it, to focus that some of these patients will never have the opportunity to go to a concert or to get to travel to a place like Nashville or to Charlotte. And so we want to bring those experiences to patients in the hospital and meet them right where they are. And these artists are able to tailor a concert just for these kids in the hospital, which is so special. And so we have a lot of talented people in Nashville that we've been able to work with and record them socially distant, very safe. Everybody's been masked. To kind of bring that special concert experience into the hospital. It's something different for kids to watch. And, I think a lot of these artists kind of say the same things, that this is a weird time and it's something that's unifying and helps patients and families not feel so alone. I think that our hospital is really focused on play, and that's something that kids have to do. And while the outside world and the outside part of children's lives have changed, their insides haven't. And play is still such a huge part of that. And I think when you combine play and entertainment and music together, that's kind of when you get the magic of Seacrest Studios. So we've been bringing the Nashville sessions to all the Seacrest studios across the country. And we just keep churning them out and have artists who are so gracious with their time and their talent and are so generous to lend that to us and to bring some smiles to patients across the country. So that's been a really special project we've been working on in Music City.
Love it. So I'm going to hop over now to Charlotte. Hello, Meredith. So I'd love for you to share a little more about our internship program. You do a great job running that with the Charlotte studio and getting just some great interns and teaching them how to use all the equipment, all that good stuff. If you could just share a little bit about the internship program, that would be great.
Thanks, Meredith. And everything that Mamie said earlier too, couldn't agree more. It takes a village, and it's pretty incredible to see also where these interns have gone to. So I've had over 150 interns in the past 5 years who have blown my mind with where they've taken their careers. And the other thing is the internship is the one that just keeps on giving. I mean, Mamie was an intern in Atlanta. And I wouldn't have even heard of this job without her. I mean, I heard about it through the Grady listserv. I reached out to her, and it's incredible that, even Nicole Monshine, who runs the DC studio, was my very first intern. Most of the studios are now run by these people that were interns at one point. So it's incredible to see that some of my interns have gone on to ESPN, to The Tonight Show, to the ACCN network, to local news. And then outside of that, we've had interns of every major too. It's based on how much do you love these kids and how much are you willing to give back? And it's an internship like no other. I mean, it's so beyond yourself and not just something you want to put on your resume. You're changing these kids' lives and they're changing you completely. It's something you never forget. And also, what other internship allows you to be on air to 200 plus patients? Obviously every studio is very different, but they also get the opportunity to even interview celebrities who can say that as a college student? Also, hint, hint, our Georgia interns are definitely the best. But we look at Katie, who went to Elon, who is now helping with the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. She's a full-time employee there. So I'm just really impressed by how these students not only are changing lives, but also they're using this equipment that is state of the art. And that's something that we mention a lot, but they're always prepared for their career afterwards. If they're going to iHeart, even if they're going to be a doctor, I mean, they've been in a children's hospital and they understand how things work.
Yeah, and I think, it's crazy to think back, the first internship program or internship started from University of Georgia. So I went and spoke at Grady back in 2010, and Parker helped us set that up for us. And next thing you know, and Mamie was at that discussion at the table there and ended up being one of our first interns, which is amazing. Went on then to run the Charlotte studio where Meredith is now, and then on to Nashville. So she's been with us for a long time and a great supporter to all that we do. I'd love for you, Meredith, just to share a little bit more too about just the studio and how the health focus and how it's helping those kids. I think sometimes we don't realize the impact the studio can have, whereas there may be a kid that hasn't done his physical therapy, but then they go down to the studio and they get up from their wheelchair to play bingo and they just walked. Things like that, where you just kind of see where the studio, maybe things that you don't think will happen in there do happen. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
I love that you mentioned that, because I mean, that's definitely one of my favorite parts of the job. And I'm sure Mamie feels the same way. Even thinking about lip sync battles, thinking about karaoke, some of these children are using their voices for the first time in a long time. Sometimes parents even discover talents of these children that they didn't even know they had, because the studio brings out a whole new part of them. We're a huge part of our fourth floor is physical therapy. So we're actually built into their therapy schedule now. So they don't realize that these extra arm movements when they're dancing is part of their therapy. They don't realize that their joke show is actually helping them use their voice a little bit more after having trach. It's honestly incredible, and it brings us to tears. I'm probably speaking for myself here. I cry 3 times a day from happiness, just seeing the way that these kids light up, and it just transforms their entire experience at the hospital. And it's the heartbeat of the hospital, like Mamie said. They can't really do without it. It's a part of that regular schedule.
Yeah, and I think if you could share, Meredith, a little bit about just, again, how you've pivoted during these times with programming. I know we can't have kids down in the studio right now, but ways that you can still engage using our technology.
Even with the pandemic, we did not skip a beat. We have what we call a VIP pass. So patients can request a song, they can play a game, they can host their own show, and they can perform with their own talent. If they get all 4 stars, they become a VIP, and they end up getting a really nice Seacrest Studios branded prize. But the really neat thing is they can do this all from their rooms. So this was even designed for kids that couldn't physically leave their hospital rooms, and they can do this VIP pass up there. So that didn't even change during the pandemic. So for their own show that they can host, we actually have a nurse, or we have child life staff. They will hold an iPad in their rooms, and that's connected through Zoom, and they can introduce us to their stuffed moose. They can show us how far they can shoot a Nerf gun from their bed to their paper towel holder. And they can even request songs, of course, like we talked about Let It Go earlier. That's one of the most requested songs, call from their hospital beds, and all of us have different call-in numbers. So they become our VIPs, and especially bingo is one of the biggest programs that we all do. That is something every single studio, all 11 of us, have in common, is that we do bingo, and it is a highly attended activity.
Good stuff.
I thought I'd be a lot older before I got the nickname Bingo Lady. I thought I'd be like much further in life.
Bingo, it's a hit. It's across the board. It's the go-to game, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what age you are, you can enjoy bingo. All right. Well, I know that we have another special guest here, Laura Burr. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and we'll get into some questions I know that you have for us.
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name is Laura Burr. I am a fourth year senior public relations major at UGA and in Grady. So go dogs. Thank you for having me on here. I am just so thankful to get to chat with you guys and get to know you and your jobs a little bit more, especially as I'm approaching that May graduation. So just a few questions that I have that I think myself and my fellow students could benefit from. I want to start with Meredith Seacrest, if I can. And I would just love to know what purpose drives the Ryan Seacrest Foundation internship program.
So I'd love to just give some backstory, because I think sometimes it's great to hear the meaning behind, why the internship program means so much to us and why we got it started. So, gosh, back when Ryan was in high school, he was able to secure an internship at Star 94, and it actually came out of him winning a prize on the radio, and he got to go pick it up, and then loved what he was seeing, because as a kid he was making radio shows and doing countdowns for our road trips and pretending he was Casey Kasem. So he, of course, when he got to actually go in a radio station, just lit up and thought, I've got to be in here, I got to figure out a way. Somehow he got an internship when he was in high school, and it really it meant so much to him. There was a gentleman there that really took him under his wing and gave him a great experience. And he feels to this day that was a stepping stone that led him to his career path that he has now. And so he wanted to make sure that we could give an internship program and an opportunity to intern, so that hopefully maybe we open that door and give them the ability to find that path. And so that was a big part of something that we want to do, that was part of our mission. So again, we started with the University of Georgia, and we never dreamed that we would now have worked with over 100 universities, more than 1,000 interns now across the country. And it's been amazing to see, on top of that, that we have now 14 interns that are studio managers. And even in our Ryan Seacrest Foundation office, we have one of our employees was an intern at the Charlotte studio, as well as at the Nashville studio. And I think, just one thing to highlight when talking about internships, I think for all of you, as you do graduate, or while you're still in school and you're doing internships, if you can target a company that you really see yourself wanting to work at. Because I know as now an employer, if I have someone work for me who I get to already see how they work, they're in the environment, and it's a test drive in a way, and then you get to bring them in permanently. It's a wonderful way for me to get to know someone. And I think on the flip side, if you're looking for a job, it's a good way to kind of test out, would you see yourself in this environment? And get to know the people in the company. So if opportunities do come up, they know your name, and hopefully you'll rise to the top of the pile of resumes. So, but yes, I hope that helps answer your question.
It did, thank you. And so my next question is technically for Mamie, but because all of you guys are UGA grads, feel free to jump in and answer. But what is your favorite memory from being a student at UGA?
I just remember my time at UGA, there was always something exciting happening, especially once I got into my major. It literally was like something exciting every day was happening. But I honestly think that meeting Meredith Seacrest was one of the highlights for me. My parents live in a small town in Georgia, and I had been home one weekend and seen a little newspaper clipping in the local paper about the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. And I cut it out and saved it. And I thought, this sounds like something that I would be interested in. And then I saw an email come through that Meredith Seacrest was going to be speaking at Grady. And I was like, I have to be there. And I was a little too young for the internship at the time. And I might have sort of skipped a class to come to the lunch. Don't tell anyone I said that. That never came from me. But I wanted to hear what it was about. And so I got to meet Meredith and apply for the internship. Kind of like, it's like a shoot your shot moment, and I think that is something that I would tell all students to do, is just go for it, make the call, show up for the meeting, show up in general. And I will never forget getting to interview for the Ryan Seacrest Foundation internship. I was so afraid, and the person who hired me was the same person who had hired Ryan, and he was a big time executive at Star 94, and I was so nervous. And I'll never forget Dr. Middleton coming down and finding me in the newsroom and telling me, "You got it, you got the internship." And I would have had no idea then that it would have set me in motion for my career now. So that's something that's so special to me, and something, a moment, and I'll never forget that excitement that I felt when I found out I was going to get to intern for the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. What an incredible thing.
Yeah, I'm sure that was great news to hear in the middle of class or whichever activity you were in. That definitely sounds like a way to brighten up your day. Perfect. And so then for Meredith Dean, I would love to know how you feel like your time at UGA and then Grady prepared you for your career.
That is my favorite question you could ever ask, because I owe everything to University of Georgia and the Grady College of Journalism. I mean, even Parker Middleton, who's on this call, had she not allowed me to work for her and Dean Davis and had mentioned my name at the Peabody Awards to Deborah Norville, who's the anchor of Inside Edition, also a UGA alumna, that wouldn't have started my career. Just because that one mention there and them advocating for me, I am forever indebted. And to give more specifics too, on besides just this incredible network that Grady has, I mean, some of the most amazing professionals come out of Grady College, and the network has blown my mind once again. But Grady News Source, where you are writing, editing, producing, and going on air at 5 o'clock every day. Mamie went through it too. That prepares you so much for knowing that you have to be flexible and adaptable in any career if you're going to make it. The New Media Institute, I ended up starting my own company because of the skills that New Media Institute helped me with. Now I have a digital branding and career consulting company for my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5 with Seacrest. So learning all the Adobe Creative Suite, and even on top of that, just being a Grady ambassador, which Mamie also was a Grady ambassador, and meeting those different alumni and just learning business professionalism in general, also helping with the McGill Medal program as well, and the Peabody Awards too, working in production in the back. So there's so many things that UGA prepares you for, and I can't imagine going to another school. I mean, it's funny because my current interns from USC and from North Carolina State and UNC, I mean, they're jealous that they didn't go to UGA because of this incredible network. So Laura, you know, you're so set for success going to UGA. I'm thrilled for you. And I know come May, you're going to be set with a job.
I'd love to piggyback on that. I actually got my first job through another person that went to UGA. She was working at Paramount, and luckily one of my friends' boyfriend's sister, you know, was one of those where I had a connection and I got in for the interview, and it was the gateway to how I got my first job at Entertainment Tonight. So it goes to show you the network is really strong, and you should definitely lean into it because you never know. You know, I think people do want to help fellow Grady or UGA grads out. And I think that's how, again, it helped me with getting that first job, that she knew I went to UGA and chose me over someone else.
I didn't know that story. I love that, Meredith. I'm going to have to use that.
Yeah, that's amazing. A mantra I was taught from very early on in life is ABCD, always be connecting dots. And I think Grady is a perfect example of that, and both of y'all's stories too. So I'm feeling more and more confident about graduation as we keep talking.
And her name is Meredith too, so.
Wow.
It's just a lot of Merediths.
Good power of Meredith.
We're coming together, we're united.
Let's see, so actually I'm gonna go back to Meredith Seacrest next. And kind of going back to the internship and, you know, post-graduation finding jobs, how do you hope to see the Ryan Seacrest Foundation internship, as well as the foundation in general, continue to grow over the next few years?
Yeah, I think, you know, when we talk about a network, say UGA has such a great network, or Grady, and we're really trying to create this network between all the interns. So if you're a Ryan Seacrest Foundation intern, you can connect with fellow interns and maybe see where they landed a job, or maybe they can help you get into a certain company. So we're really trying to create that now for all of our interns, so they can have support within our little group. And then again, we just want to continue to improve it, to grow it. We want, when interns come out of this internship, that when they go to apply for jobs, these companies know that they're going to come in with a really strong skill set. And so that's something that we want, and have a high bar for that. And then just continue to grow the schools we work with, and yeah, just, I think it's kind of endless. Just keep improving it and growing it. That's the goal.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm excited to see, how far it can get, and I'm confident that it'll go very far.
Oh, thank you.
So back to Mamie. In your opinion, what was the most significant or noticeable impact of COVID that you and your studio had to adjust to? I know you said that there weren't a ton of big adjustments since you guys already had the technology and the setup for it, and you've been able to stay a happy place for your patients and for your surrounding. But, what was that most challenging part?
It's interesting. Mr. Rogers is someone I greatly admire, and he said that he believed his role was to help children through the difficult modulations in life. And he did that through mass media. And I really feel like that's what Seacrest Studios is doing in the hospital. And, I'll be very honest with you, the hospital setting has changed a lot since the pandemic started. Things don't look the same. They don't feel the same. And that it happened immediately. It was not gradual at all. It happened in the blink of an eye. Things changed overnight. And while we were trying to grasp with that, like what that meant for us, I think that's even scarier for a child in the hospital. Not as many people are allowed to come visit them as they normally are. Here in Nashville, there's only one parent or guardian allowed with them at a time. And so when you don't have your support system, you're not, at the beginning of the pandemic, patients weren't even really allowed to leave their rooms. We weren't really allowed to go on the unit. So we had to get really creative about how are we going to keep kids engaged, because, at the time, playrooms were closed, special events weren't happening. We were the only source of entertainment for patients in the hospital. And, it really is the Ryan Seacrest Foundation perfectly set us up for that situation. We had no idea a global pandemic was going to happen, but we made the transition so easily, technologically. It took us, just a few days to kind of pivot. But we took a page from the book of our patients and families. They're constantly having to adapt, improvise, and overcome. And so we just followed that suit. And I think we are still trying to find different ways to keep kids engaged. And I think our enthusiasm is what is important. And I think if you're looking for a job, or if you are interviewing over Zoom, enthusiasm is just one of the biggest things. People want to see that you are engaged, you're in the moment, you're present, and that you're enthusiastic. And one of our jobs here in Seacrest Studios is to keep a sense of normalcy in the hospital. And so the fact that we were able to still keep broadcasting and keep playing bingo, while it looks a little different, that was really important for these patients to remind them that while so many other things feel and look really different, and it might seem scary at times, the things that they're used to can still happen. And that just brings a sense of calm to everyone, including the staff. So I think, we're still navigating those changes, while the rest of the world opens up and changes. Things have not really changed at the hospital. Everything is still very much the same way it was back in March of last year. So we are still getting used to it, but I think that we were perfectly set up for things to happen for a pandemic, and we were able to continue our programming. And it's been fun because we've been able to connect with other studios. So, you know, before, I don't know that we would have been on co-interviews or been hosting shows together, but now, you know, Meredith Dean and I have been able to help interview celebrities together. And that's been really neat. And it's been a neat thing for patients to be able to see other kids in hospitals across the country. And honestly, that's one of their favorite parts, I think, when we all get to do visits together, is for them to see the other kids and see that they're not alone, that there's somebody else in another city just like them.
I feel like I'm ferociously nodding my head for everything. Yes, definitely.
A lot of nodding, nod.
Well, that's great. I am so glad that y'all have had a mostly seamless transition to this, you know, virtual world that we're living in. And I would imagine that, you know, being able to maintain some consistency in the lives of the patients there has been truly a blessing to all of them. And I'm sure they're all really thankful for what you guys do. So for my last question, I'm going to go back to Meredith Dean. And, you know, what professional advice do you have for current Grady students, and especially seniors like me who are about to graduate and start looking for their career?
So I have a career week for all of my interns, and these are the same 3 pieces of advice that I give them. So number 1, your network is your net worth. Once again, your network is your net worth. And you might have heard that before, but it's so true. I mean, look at this call right now. I wouldn't have my job without Mamie. You know, it's just truly incredible that your network is going to help you having those genuine connections. So how do you make those genuine connections? One thing you can do is get LinkedIn Premium for 30 days. It's free before you graduate. Every student's on a budget. So get LinkedIn Premium. You can schedule these informational interviews with the people that have your dream job, or maybe they used to have your dream job, and do your research on them and ask them really good questions in that 15-minute phone interview or Zoom interview. The worst thing that can happen if you don't hear back from them, or they just say they don't have time, that's okay. No big deal. But the people that actually take me up on this challenge of reaching out to 1 new person a day are the ones that get jobs. It is truly amazing, creating those genuine connections. Number 2, don't burn bridges. This is a big one. Even if you've had issues in the past or issues at work, the people that you are currently in class with could be your boss one day, or could be the person that is in your position to hire you. So what are you doing to support the other people in your class? And the same thing with your professors. They're working really hard right now, especially during a pandemic. You know, they've had to pivot themselves. So make sure that you're keeping those really good connections. Number 3, always stay curious. This is, you know, very important at the Grady College of Journalism. But to me, curiosity is a love language. When you're asking people, how are you? Do you really mean it? Are you going to actively listen and ask those follow-up questions? And we need to do that, especially with working at Seacrest Studios, is asking these patients and families, you know, how are you really? I'm here for you. Let's talk this out, and being that lending ear. So those are my top 3. I have a million others, but like I said, Laura, you're very well prepared already going to Georgia right now. So I am wishing you all the best. And also, college is not the best 4 years of your life. That's hard to believe, because college is just incredible, and University of Georgia provides that experience, but it's only going to get better from here. I promise you that.
Well, thank you. And thank you for that advice. I am sure, you know, my fellow students who watch this as well as me, we're going to implement that, especially in the next few months, and get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And I'd love to add, I know this is one thing even Ryan shares too. You know, he always says, you know, I wasn't necessarily the smartest person in the room, or, you know, even when he played football wasn't the fastest or the strongest, but a big thing is punctuality, you know, showing up, being on time. And I think, you know, taking notes, it's that part of listening. Whereas if, you know, you're interning somewhere, you have a new job, you know, don't be afraid to have your notepad out and take all those notes. You don't want to get back to your desk and think, oh, did they say 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock? Or was it 5 people or 6 people for the reservation or whatever? So I think it's just helpful. And then, and 2, as you're an intern, again, going back to a point, if you can target somewhere where you'd love to work one day, it's great to try to find internships with those places, and hope that you can network while you're there, and hopefully create relationships that could help you get hired.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those are all the questions that I have for you guys. But again, I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me and, answer some questions that students are wanting to ask.
Great. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. It's wonderful to hear from everybody. And gosh, Meredith, Mamie, Meredith. It's been so wonderful and to be part of this journey with the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. And a special hello to your family, Meredith. And you all always put your incredible talent and your heart and your spirit where there's important need. And you're helping make the world better and you're lifting us all up. And we're in your hands, Laura, for the future, for the next crop of interns. So whenever we get the call from CHOA to gather a group of interns, we will. So we're grateful for your time and so honored to hear from you all. And you inspire us. We miss you. Special thanks to Katie Kloshani of the Ryan Seacrest Foundation and Missy Hill of Grady Ad PR, who produced our show, and to our presenting host, the amazing Department of Advertising and Public Relations. This program and more are archived at the Driven by Purpose link. Please share the inspiration. I know you'll want to. And tune in for the next Driven by Purpose episode, March 11th, with Ruth Ann Harnish of the Harnish Foundation. Heartfelt thanks, everyone. And applause.
Bye.